Ash obviously had a great century from Aidan Markram, and I suppose he's had a couple of struggles over the last, however many seasons, and also some amazing moments. Just what kind of work has he done before this match, and what have you seen in him that maybe suggests he was the guy for a big occasion?
Well, we certainly know that he's someone for the big occasion. Of that, there's no doubt. He's done a little bit of technical work, not a lot. I think in the last little while he's just had a little tendency of his hands sort of pushing away from him, from his body, cutting across the ball sometimes. But it wasn't a big fix. As soon as he saw a few videos of himself doing that, it was quite a simple fix. When I talk about his ability to play big innings, albeit in a losing cause at Newlands on a very, very difficult pitch, he played an unbelievable innings there, where everybody else was really struggling, and he got 100 on that surface, and so we know what he's capable of.
And can I just ask you, what did you say to the batters? A target like this has only been chased 3 or 4 times here at Lord's before. It looked like a lot of runs. What were your words of advice when they went out there?
I felt that, the message has been the same really throughout. Make them believe that they can do it, and then just sort of step out the way and allow them to go and do it. I think, with that, there were signs starting yesterday evening. There are certain signs when you're sitting and watching the game that, those type of things might be positives for us. Obviously, in terms of trying to wrap up the Australian tail, there's a little bit of frustration with the ball dropping short all the time of the slip cordon. But if you reverse that, it might happen the same when we bat. And so Ryan Rickleton goes fairly hard at one early on, and it drops short of the slip cordon. So, that's a little sign that might be something in our favour. We try and, stick to the positives as much as we can. And then again this morning, when you watch their tailenders sort of stick in, there are signs there that the stats suggest that day 3 might be the best for batting. And they were pretty comfortable, numbers 9, 10 and 11, up against pretty good bowling attack. And with the sun out, you look for certain positives that the sun's out, the nicks aren't carrying to the slip cordon. So can we feed off those type of things, and then obviously big partnerships are important. I think, Mulder should get a mention, coming in early in a position that he's not really accustomed to, having lost an early wicket and just sort of settled everything down with Aidan. I think that partnership was quite crucial. And then the next partnership that's still ongoing is obviously massive.
Being so close with a night to think on it, do you try to put the end result out of your mind, or do you allow that to get into the thoughts?
No, look, I think, again, to come back to your question, Firdaus, one of the things we said before the run chase is the game will finish when it finishes. And whether that is tomorrow at lunchtime or whatever time, the end of the match will take care of itself. For us, the most important thing is to remain in the moment, stay in the moment, and obviously from a batting point of view, that means play one ball at a time, stay in the moment. Whenever the game finishes, that's when it will finish.
Ash, how's Tim's hamstring?
I'm not sure yet. I'm sure Sizwe is attending to that at the moment. Actually, at tea time, we had to make a big call whether he continues to bat and how it will affect his stroke play, how that might affect Aidan's rhythm. If twos are being turned into one, that they can't sort of run the twos or the threes. And both of them were adamant that Timber's got to continue. He wanted to continue. Aidan was adamant that the partnership is the key. And obviously, had Stubbs gone in, we would have still had Timber's wicket intact, but you start in a new partnership, they were feeling pretty good and they wanted to continue. And Aiden was well aware that he'll have to curb his intensity just in terms of running between the wickets to allow Temba to ease his way through it.
Can I just jump in there? We've seen Temba, it feels like he's been fighting his whole life for all sorts of reasons, and he's fighting again because of this hamstring. What do you think an innings like that says about him?
Well, it says a lot. It's not done yet, but as you say, he's had to fight throughout his career, and this could be a defining moment for his career, I believe. It's the biggest stage in terms of Test cricket. Yeah, maybe I should answer the question after the game.
Archer, I was actually going to ask some similar questions to Temba, but I guess the fact that Aiden was also so adamant, what does that say about, I guess, the respect that this team has for him as a leader, and just how tough is he going out there with that?
He's tough. Temba is tough. Aiden has great respect for Temba. In fact, I think this team's greatest strength is the unity that they have in this camp. You only have to look at Tristan Stubbs celebrate a wicket to understand that. And, they are well aware that South Africa have had much greater individual players, but they've got something special going up in that dressing room, and, that sort of helps them to drag each other along.
So just to follow up, just to quickly say, like, just in that, you'd rather answer some questions tomorrow. Like, how hard is it to stay calm for everyone right now?
I think Shukri must get a lot of credit for that, because that's one of his strengths, making sure that everybody stays calm within the dressing room. So as soon as Aiden and Temba came up the stairs, the first thing he said was, guys, you do the same as you do every night. Don't change a thing. Tomorrow morning, come and do the same warm-ups that you do every day. Just the same processes. We obviously understand the magnitude of the situation and what's at stake. But just to stay calm and take it in your stride.
Ash, the narrative around South African cricket and not getting over the line, but the little individual moments, Aiden not kind of producing, Temba kind of fighting, as Telford said, even Lungi last night. Do the individuals kind of see themselves within a broader narrative and like proving people wrong? Do you guys address that sort of, as I said, broader context? Is that something that you guys speak about, or is it just something you let the cricket take care of itself?
No, if I'm honest, in terms of the build-up, even before we got here, there was no talk about proving anybody wrong. Obviously there was a lot of thought about our route to the final and who we played against, or whatever the case may be, and people have their opinions about that. I can promise you now that we'd love to play against everybody more often, especially if there's some big money series that we can also make some money. So as far as that's concerned, it's not about proving anybody wrong, but I think the important thing from Shukri's point of view also is to make the players aware of how good they are, and that's a big thing. They are good players, and if you take them lightly, you might come short. I'm sure Australia wouldn't have approached the game in that manner, but perhaps the rest of the world watching the final or predicting what's going to happen in the final might have had that opinion. But there's some great players in there. KG Rabada is phenomenal, led the way from the front, 5 on day 1 and then 4 in the second innings. There's some unbelievable players up there, and when you put it all together, you can achieve great things.
Ashwell, on the way that the intent with the bat yesterday morning started by Temba, that it's continued into the start of the second innings. Obviously, he's led that, but how much of a role did you play, and what was your messaging to them yesterday morning and to try and carry that over into how they did this afternoon?
I think what we try to do is always bring perspective. I think, having read a few things, a lot about our first innings, lots has been said about maybe negativity or too defensive. What I would say is that you have three of the world's best fast bowlers who hardly missed length at all in that 22, 23 over period on conditions that, let's be fair, suited the bowlers on day one. And when I talk about perspective, let's shoot straight, 212 all out, could have been 140 or 150 had one or two decisions been given, or we had made the right call on a review. So the fact that we will bundle out for 138, I don't think is far off what they achieved, had one or two decisions gone our way.
Ashwell, you spoke about how calm the coaches kept everyone in the dressing room, but it's cliched, but when a partnership like that is going on in a big World Cup final, are there any superstitions? Are people allowed to move? And you played a lot of Test cricket as well. Are you going to sleep tonight? And how has it all been so far?
I'm not sure about how I'm going to sleep tonight. But yeah, I think, there was a bit of a sense that everybody got to stay in the same seats up there. I think I wouldn't say there's any particular individual that's really superstitious up there. But like when you have some sort of rhythm going, you just want to maintain the same rhythm, I think. So everybody sort of got their chance to go to the bathroom at the drinks breaks, or when Temba had to get some treatment, we could stand up and get to the bathroom. But that's all good. Like I say, that's one of the things about them is that they're really tight. And obviously, they're just there cheering on every ball, loving every ball with those two out there.
Ashwell, we've seen KG take 9 wickets. We've seen Aiden is the vice captain, gets 100. Temba's on the verge. How important is it in a game like this for your senior players to shoulder the responsibility, particularly when you have a very young lineup?
Yeah, I think it's massive that they lead from the front. And I think the young players, they get dragged along. Lungi Ngidi is not a young player, but he came to the party as well. I think it's, you have to recognize certain performances, and sometimes it's not measured only in the wickets column. Vian Mulder bowled a spell in the first innings where he conceded 1.5 runs and over. There are certain passages of play that you have to recognize, and they all contribute in the end to where the team is at. But certainly, you need your senior players sort of to lead from the front, and Rabada is phenomenal.
This morning, this first kind of hour or two of play must have been pretty frustrating. How were you feeling as Australia were kind of piling on the runs late in their innings? And was there any issue once the team was back in and preparing to go out to bat, getting them up again and maintaining the positivity?
No, I don't believe there was any issue. So if, first of all, to answer the question about how Australia were going about their business, I would rather suggest that they were going about their business quite comfortably. I wouldn't necessarily say they were piling it on, because there was a lot of maidens, there was a lot of tight overs. They were comfortable, and as I said, we tried to take the positives out of that if number 9 and 10 or 10 and 11 can be that comfortable, surely if the stats suggest that the pitch plays its best on day 3, perhaps that's what's happening. And when you add the sunshine to that, I think that's exactly what happened.